Hello and welcome to Paper Cup Crafts. Today we're going to use the little Ladybug stamp set and some cutout pieces that are either punched or die cut depending on what you have, an oval and some hearts. And this card is a 5.5 by 8.5. It is just a regular piece of cardstock that's been just folded in half. Generally, we call it a half card. And I am just going to stamp on a scrap piece of paper the flower with Memento ink. This I'm going to use it as a mask. My theme here is to make a garden of flowers. So I want to be able to make it look like there's flowers behind and in front. And here I start to cut out this image, and then I realize that I've just gotten the Ladybug die set that is available that coordinates with the little Ladybug die set or stamp set. The stamp set is actually a celebration item that you can earn by hosting a Stampin'Up party during celebrations. So I use this die to cut out the flower. Now I'm just looking to where I want to place the flower and where my flower bed will go to, because I don't want it to cover the whole card, just about a little less than half of it. So to create a mask, you're going to stamp whatever you want to be in the front first so that it's a full image, and then you're going to lay your mask on top of that and stamp onto your cardstock but also on the mat, and it will make it look like it is behind your original image. So this is what I'm doing here, and I'm stamping quite a few different flowers around the whole thing to create that look of a flower bed. So here I'm using not only the mask but also another piece of paper. This is just because the stamp is a little bit bigger than the mask is covering for where I want to stamp. So I am covering the extra just with a scrap paper so it doesn't stamp off my mat to somewhere where I didn't want it to stamp. So now I'm using one of the journaling pens from Stampin'Up just to extend some of the stalks of the flowers they didn't quite extend all the way to the next flower or to the off the page. So I decided that I would just extend them myself with just a thin point journaling pen, and it turned out pretty nice. So next I'm taking the Ladybug stamps out of the stamp set that I'm using, inking them up with the Memento Black. And I am stamping these onto Whisper White, but a different cardstock, because I plan to cut them out. And I don't really need them to be anywhere specific, so I'm just stamping them on the position so that they're easy to use the new dies that I have. So I'm just going to stamp them, and then I'm going to color them first before I cut them out, since it's easier to do it that way. So to color them, I am using our blends. I'm going to use the real red blend, and I usually start with the lighter color, highlight with the dark color, and then come in again with the light one just to blend it all. I'm also using the smoky slate for their fronts and for their faces. This is the Old Olive blends. Just using the light color of it just to give this little clover some extra pop. And now I'm going to bring in my flowers that I stamped earlier, and I am going to use a number of different colors on these. Now this is a baby card for a little boy, so I'm wanting to do at least one or two highlights with the blue. But my main colors are going to be the Old Olive for the stems, Daffodil Light, Calypso Coral, Pool Party, and Real Red. So now here I've already cut out using the dies, the little ladybugs that I colored. So I just used some cheap washi tape to hold down the dies, just to make sure they don't shift when I'm running them through my machine. And I just use that and I throw it away once I'm finished with it. Now these little guys I'm going to kind of play around with a little bit and figure out where I want to have them placed on my flowers, and also how I'm going to place my little pea pod. So now that I have my placements down a little bit, I'm going to use this Seaside Spray metallic ribbon as like a blanket that's laying over top of the baby that's going to be in this pea pod. I only need a little tiny bit. I use the tear and tape adhesive for the ribbon, but you can use dots as well, whatever will hold that ribbon in place. And I just attach it to the back of the pea pod. This pea pod I cut with a oval die, and then I just hand cut the little inside shape out of it. So now I'm just going to attach the pea pod and my ribbon blanket just using some snail. I want it to look like it's sitting on top of the flowers, like a fresh new delivery. So I have this little tiny piece of vanilla, very vanilla cardstock that I've punched with a very small circle punch, and I'm just drawing a little curl and a little face on it to represent the baby. And I'm going to use a dot to attach this to make it look like the baby is laying down but still peeking over the edge of the pea pod. This little tiny piece that I have here is just a hand cut piece that I just designed to go on top of the little pea pod. It's that part the vine attaches to when it's on the plant. I just hand drew it and then just cut it out, but thought it would added a nice little dimension and detail to the piece. And now I'm going to use my old olive marker, and I'm going to add some highlights and some shadowing and give it a little bit more of a pea pod look to it, adding that bulge that the peas have inside their pods. And here I am going to start with my vine. Now, this vine has a little of a secret message. I made it into an S shape. The family name for this card is an S. I'm not sure if they'll pick up on the fact that it's an S, but I did do that on purpose. I didn't want to do it right away with the marker, so I am just sketching it out first with a pencil, trying to get that the dimension of the S to be just right, and the placement, because I still want to get that flying ladybug in there, and also my sentiment still needs to go in. So I'm going to just take my marker and I'm going to try and follow that design that I put on there, and I'm going to go over it twice just to give it a little bit more of a thickness. And then add a few little sprigs coming off of it and erase that pencil from earlier. And these little sprigs that I've put on, I'm going to use these hearts that I've punched out, and those are going to be the little leaves coming off the vine. And the hearts are a nice touch to make leaves with. They're hearts to represent the love of the family, and then you also get that leaf effect as well. And then I'll use my marker in just a minute here to give them a little bit of a dimension and some leaf lines. Now I'm going to use some of the mini dimensionals to attach the flying ladybug. I thought this would make a neat little effect having it raised up since it is flying. And for the other two ladybugs, I'm just going to use some snail and just a small little bit on the back of each one. And then there's a little hole here where the flowers didn't quite overlap, so I'm going to put this ladybug here and kind of fill in that hole. And this little guy is going to be off to the side so he can see this little baby. I'm just adding a little bit of shadowing to the undersides of the ladybug and the pea pod, just with some light smoky slate blends marker. I'm going to stamp my sentiment in the Seaside Spray ink. This is the same color as the base of the card. I feel that the card is a little bit too white for a sky view, so I'm using a dauber to just give a fanning effect to the edge of the card wherever there's white, just to give it a highlight and give the edge a bit of a ink matte. Now it's time to attach it all together. I'm going to use the snail and give it a good amount since it is a larger front, and just attach that to my front of my base. Since this card is a little bit bigger than a normal sized card, it does take me a little bit longer to get it centered since I do just eyeball it. But I do get it there and I just press it down firmly, and here's the finished card.